So with the climate change issue that's going on, the water that is really the issue for so many of us, in a certain sense, began to get lost. And water is what we are. Water is our basic matter. And it's also where we go to get soothed. And it occurred to me that as people began to really look at the spiritual nature of these times and what was required, we were facing so many kinds of crises, and the intellect, the mind would get kind of frozen and fearful, and we needed a way to kind of come back to what we really were and a way to work with that. And the water projects of the Bodies of Water School, including the 108 Bowls water mala, is a way to take up our basic nature and come home and celebrate that, protect that, be in terms of that. And so in this project we're making a series of 108 small bowls that can be placed in a windowsill. And as they're made very intentionally by a distinguished potter, and that in the making there's a process of being in a very profound state of consciousness, of appreciation and love for the waters, and offering. So the whole mala itself is a way of giving. The bowls are later offered as gifts to those who will take up the practice of paying attention to water, to the question of what water is, the question of what the self is, so that the actual making of the bowls, the construction of the project itself, which is to create these displays of a mala, which is a prayer bead necklace that's used in almost all the religious traditions to, in a sense, indicate the infinite. 108 is often a place where you lose track of counting. So if you're making vows or if you're counting sounds, repetitions of prayers, about that time you kind of internally lose track. It's the place of boundless giving and receiving. So we make 108 of these bowls in the gesture of saying it never stops. The gesture of giving yourself and receiving support is endless. And we take up in this the question of water's state. And it's obvious that at this point in our history, where we're standing on Earth is at a very particular juncture, where 1 in 6 people don't have safe water to drink, where the water systems are in critical condition, and it's an expression of the larger condition of our world, and whether sentient life will have another generation, whether it will have another decade. And so these small bowls, which are then placed in windowsills, which are a very private way of holding the world in one's own hand, making one's own home, the tap water, the very ordinary water of your life, and offering, receiving it consciously, and studying that place between inside and outside every day. The practice of receiving one of these small bowls is to put it in a windowsill and keep it filled up with water. So as the water goes down, you notice it, you pay attention, and you fill it back up. And what tends to happen is that as we notice that water depends on us, and that we depend on water, the way we live our lives begins to change. And we become a being of appreciation and a being of responsibility. But rather than that being a kind of grim understanding, it's a very tender and living state.